My training has a lot to do with that too.
What is different about your training?
So all of the conditioning that I do, or almost the conditioning parts that I take really seriously, are the sparring days. I used to like hit mitts real hard, and I still do like a strength and conditioning workout once a week. That's like, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, minute rest, stuff like that. But there's no getting tired like there is getting tired in sparring. So I'll do, I usually do 10-week camps. The first week I just knock the rust off, and then I do 2 7-round weeks. So we spar Tuesday, Fridays. I do 7 rounds those days. And then the next 2 weeks I do 8 rounds both of those days. And then I'll do like 6 and then the rest of them 5 because I want to get used to 5. But in those 7-round weeks and those 8-round weeks, those are hard as fuck, man. Like I try to get so tired where I'm just like, I don't feel like I can make decisions anymore. And I really think that having the concentration to focus for those 40 minutes makes it way easier for me to focus in the 25 minutes. I don't really know if that's science or not, but I definitely think that if I can stay focused for 40 minutes, 25 minutes will feel like nothing. So I really push myself there.
And is this a strategy, or is this a program that you've just developed over trial and error?
Yeah, I make my own shit up pretty much,
Really?
Pretty much, so Christian Allen was my coach. He's like the guy with always the crazy haircut, kind of built like me. Christian Allen has always been my coach. And he's an interesting guy. Like a lot of his philosophies are really traditional martial arts philosophy. Like he turned me on to a lot of really, like people like Bruce Lee, of course, like Krishnamurti, like just like free thinkers. So he always instilled in me this, and tried to empower this ability inside me to think for myself. Because I think that a lot of people don't really do that in the sport. To be honest with you, I think that a lot of them get their hand held by their coaches, which is totally one way to do it. And honestly, a lot of people do need that. But I was never taught to be that way. I was taught to be the quarterback of my own game, not like someone that takes orders. He instilled that in me big time. So I tweak things and handle a lot of the way that I do things in camp by myself. I, of course, have people around me that I know love me a lot and care about me enough to tell me what they think I should do, and I will listen to them if I think that they're right. But a lot of it is like me just kind of being like a lone wolf in life and in martial arts a little bit, and me just figuring stuff out myself.
So do you think that's because, well, obviously nobody knows you better than you, and you're absorbing all these techniques from all these different people and all these strategies from these different coaches, but ultimately it's up to you to execute with your mind and your body. And so you've just decided the best way to do that is to absorb all this information, but even maybe more important, do it yourself.
Yeah, definitely. What's the Bruce Lee quote? It's like, accept what's useful, discard what's not useful, and then make it your own, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's like martial arts, That's what Christian taught me from when I first started when I was 17 years old. And I think it's the way to do it, man. Like, I really do. Like, I when I think about other sports and how they compare, I don't think, like at the very highest level, when I watch interviews of like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or like Tom Brady and all of those guys are interacting with their coaches much differently than a lot of the other players and coaches will interact with each other, where it's not... the coach isn't telling the player what to do. The coach and the player are interacting, I think, when you get to a certain level. And me and my coaches sometimes we'll get into it, like I'll be like, hey man, like, I don't think that that's like a reliable way to go about doing things, because I think building, like I use the word reliable a lot, like when I'm coaching people, because you don't want tricks, like tricks are okay. You want things that are reliable. And, so that's like what I shoot for when I'm trying to like learn techniques and learn different things. It's like, is this reliable, or is this kind of like a tricky thing that like will sometimes work? And I always shoot for reliable. So I'll get into it with my coaches sometimes, like, hey, Banks, like, I don't know if that's that reliable.
Can you
know?
give me an example of something that's not that reliable?
Sure. Let's say like a low single, you know, or like a I think honestly it happens a lot more in striking, because I think that because people really don't understand the inner workings of how striking works, people want to use tricks, and tricks will work a lot until you get someone that like catches on to your shit. So like I think like let's say just for example in striking like any combination really, like that's kind of more, it's not a trick, but it's a set thing where things have to go really right in order for it to work 100% of the time. And I don't really think that that's the approach that you should take in striking. I think that the approach to striking should be reliable things. It should address space, it should address position, and it should like address angles. And like those are like the three areas of striking and the inner workings of striking that don't really get talked about, because a lot of it is taught in a very tricky way, because tricks are very digestible for people. Where the inner workings of things are very like conceptual and hard to understand.